Hello everyone and welcome to a review of the fifth and final Unmatched Marvel set, Brains and Brawn. This one includes She-Hulk, Spider-Man and Doctor Strange with a sidekick of Wong and was provided to me for the review. Let's jump into roughly how Unmatched plays and then I'll give you my thoughts and feelings on this specific box. So in Unmatched, you're going to play as one of the characters. Now, predominantly the game is going to be played in a 1v1 situation, with you both having your own health dial, deck and character, but you can also play in a free-for-all or team modes, although you'd need another box because this only has 3 characters if you want to do that team mode. So how do the characters work? Well, they're all got their own unique ability, and we'll come on to sort of what makes these themselves in a bit. And you're going to have attack cards, defense cards, versatile, which can be used as either of those, and schemes, each being somewhat related to your character and make them feel a little bit like who they're supposed to be. You are going to be moving around the battlefield doing a maneuver action which gets you a card. You've got to be able to draw a card, otherwise you take some stamina damage. You're then hopefully going to get in range. For Spider-Man and She-Hulk, they're melee, so they've got to be right next to their opponent. But Doctor Strange and Wong, they're ranged, firing some magical spells across the battlefield at you. They need to be in the same coloured area of the map, which is very helpfully laid out in sort of coloured circles so you can work out where those regions are. So on your turn, maybe you manoeuvre, draw a card, you've just got in range, so you play an attack card. Your opponent then has the chance to play a defence or a versatile card as that defence, and you see how much damage you do. If the attack's 4, the defence is 2, you subtract 1 from the other and you get there's 2 damage left to take. You put your health dial down a bit and you win by killing off your opponent. Now in the case of Doctor Strange and Wong, you don't need to care about Wong to actually win. You only need to take out the main hero of Doctor Strange. And that's pretty much how you play. If you want a bit more of a detail, there's a how to play with full sort of details on the channel. But let's dive now into what makes this box different. So let's start off with She-Hulk. With 20 health and the ability to hit big, well, she's quite fun to play as. She certainly feels like you can have big turns where you wallop down an opponent. With 20 health points, that's a lot more than the others in this set, about 15, 16 sort of range, and, well, most other heroes in Unmatched. So, you know, feels right. Hulky sort of character has that bit more health about them. She's also got a really cool ability. Well, it's situationally good because at the start of your turn, you can discard a card to sort of deal damage to someone in your area based on a card's boost value. Now, that might sound good, but, well, her deck is mostly 1 or 2 boosts. There's 2, 3 boost valued cards, and both of those are a really cool attack. That attack is called the Savage She-Hulk and allows you to spend another action, which I've never seen that done on an Unmatched card. So if you're right next to the opponent already, you can use that as an attack, spend your second action, and it turns a 3 damage card into a 9. And yes, you heard that correct, a 9. So a huge amount of damage. I mean, that will kill a single raptor outright. It will kill, or probably kill off most opponents. And you've got 2 of those in your deck. She's also got some other cool ones like Cease and Desist. It's a versatile card that's a little bit like a feint, but you have the option after the feint of during the combat, if you're playing that actually as an attack card, it's a value 4 instead of a 1. So yeah, if you're going to need to defend, it's okay, but if you can use that to attack, just like in a courtroom a cease and desist might be good, well, the lawyer side of She-Hulk comes out through that card. Like I say, she's got definitely opportunities to hit big, it feels right for the character, definitely one a brand new player can play nice and easily. She hits big, she's fun to play as. Next up, let's jump over, or swing over even, to Spider-Man. Well, as I alluded to there, yeah, he does feel swingy, but in not a sort of balanced sense, in terms of there's a number of his cards that allow maybe after an attack to swing to another space in your zone, that sort of coloured area of the map. This has definitely allowed me to swing away and sort of get away from maybe She-Hulk or one of the many characters in the Unmatched line, or able to actually get on top of someone, or not literally, but a space next to them to be able to get an attack in and maybe even swing back out again afterwards. So that feels really on brand for Spider-Man. He's also got a really cool one which is right in the face with like the depiction of someone getting spider webbed all over their face, which means that they can't draw cards for the rest of that turn. It's a versatile. So maybe not as great for attack, but if you play that as the first part of a defense and then they maneuver, well, they're maybe not able to draw a defense card for their turn. So that's quite an interesting one, because most of the time you're wanting someone else to draw cards or too many cards, so their stamina bar, effectively, that deck is worn out. In this case, Spider-Man has a couple of those cards where it's like, you're not drawing any cards for this turn. That's quite cool. Certainly against opponents which are going to draw cards after attacking or something. It's an immediate on the defender's side, so it's going to happen. And of course it wouldn't feel like Spider-Man if there wasn't a card in the deck that somehow referenced Uncle Ben. With great power comes great responsibility. And there is a card in the deck with great power, and it's a pretty awesome scheme card to play, and it feels like a cool turn when you play that. It's like Spider-Man gets that super boost of super power, and well, he can hit a little bit harder because all attacks get +1 value. You draw a card and you gain an action. So that scheme card, playing that at the start of your turn and then being able to get on top of another character, having an extra card, so maybe you've just drawn a good attack card, well, that all works really well for Spider-Man. Another one that's fun to play, nothing really is that hard, and interestingly, is going to be a character that gets better the more you play Unmatched. And what I mean by that is, he has Spidey Sense as his main ability. When someone attacks you, they have to tell you the printed value on the card. Now, that might screw someone over like Wukong, the Monkey King, when he's got those like 0 attacks that you're trying to bluff. But it's going to be interesting because the more you know other characters, the more you're like, you might be telling me it's a 2 attack, but I think if it's that card in your deck, it's going to be a lot worse if I don't defend it, or maybe I should let it through because there's worse things coming, and that's a really cool thing that, well, again, no one in Unmatched has done before. You get to know, at least, how bad the attack is that's coming in. The printed value only, though. So, like She-Hulk's card that is a 3 but could become a 9, you're only told 3. So then you have to question, is it that card? Am I in danger? So, Spidey Sense, that's a really cool thing. And, well, like I say, it's cool, even if you're a brand new player, you know what's coming at you in terms of value damage, but the more you know characters that you're playing against, it's going to add to your decisions. So awesome, Spider-Man. And finally, we get to Doctor Strange and Wong, which is probably the hardest one, I would say, in this set. It's certainly got a little bit more of a nuance, and I completely underutilised his power in the first time that I played as him. Basically, he's got this thing called Dark Pact. So when Doctor Strange is in combat and plays a card, you can take 1 damage to put that card, instead of in your discard pile, at the bottom of your deck. Now, I actually lost my first game as Doctor Strange by my deck running out and the stamina damage, so that would have been probably a better way of doing things. Now, combine that with the fact he's got ways to shuffle his deck and gain health, well, that works very nicely. Now let's touch on those as well. So he's got multiple cards in his deck which really want him and Wong next to each other, fighting side by side, and I think that's a really cool thing. Sometimes with ranged characters, where you've got a ranged character and a sidekick that's ranged or not, you want to split them up a little bit, but it feels right that Wong and Doctor Strange want to fight side by side. I do just think that's really cool, and often when there's a heal, it's like you can heal your fighter and an adjacent friendly fighter as well. I think he's going to be really good in the co-op version of Unmatched, when you can maybe heal other people, not just Wong. But yeah, you kind of want to fight with them together, which is just a little bit different. One of his other cards, the Winds of Watum, is something that's very different as well. So, like I was saying, his power puts a card at the bottom of his deck, and you're like, well, if it's a good card at your bottom of the deck, that's not great. Well, that Winds of Watum card not only puts you and the other fighter maybe at the other sides of the battlefield because it puts you back onto starting spaces, well, it also shuffles your decks, both yours and your opponent's. So that's really cool that that card that was at, or the cards that you've been putting at the bottom of your deck are going to be shuffled. They might sort of end up back there, but they also might end up higher. So you get that really good card back at some point. So yeah, he's an interesting character. I think he is a step above in terms of play. So for your first game, go Spider-Man versus She-Hulk. But then definitely Doctor Strange has some cool things going on that are a bit different. And like I said, I think he's going to be, I don't know, but I think he's going to be quite useful in the co-op version of Unmatched. So the map that we've got in this Brains and Brawn box is the Sanctum Sanctorum. You'll remember that from the films. Basically, whenever Doctor Strange goes to town, well, that's the room the building he walks into with that massive glass window. It's in a lot of sort of the recent Avengers stuff and even the Doctor Strange films and that. So you're going to sort of maybe know that location a little bit. I would say it's not sort of that amazing as a map, like the actual layout. There's a cool central space, but it's not necessarily as fun as the high ground in the middle of the Hanging Gardens map. But as with all of these Marvel ones, it's got items on the floor. So there's a few spots where it's just like +1 or +2 to your attack or defense. They're quite nice, but it's the schemes that, well, they're quite interesting. They're not quite at the level of the last box of For King and Country, where there was like a jetpack that launched you across the map, or a laser gun that just dealt damage to someone in your area. Well, they're not quite as good as that, but there's one that draws 3 cards and puts one back at the bottom of your deck. That's a good way to get cards. There's a very situational ring which allows you to move all fighters one space. Again, like I say, situational. I've made it work in terms of just bringing people close enough in range for maybe to get an attack from Wong in or something like that. But also, maybe if you're trying to put a bit more distance between you and another melee character, that could work. The standout one has to be that you can play a scheme card from your deck for free. Now, it's not necessarily free, you still need to have spent the scheme action to use that tile, but that gives you potential of playing something that's not in your hand, and that is very rare in Unmatched. To actually be able to look through your deck and find something, yeah, that's a pretty useful one, especially when you know, oh, there's that one, you know, that with great power card, and I maybe want that on this turn, or maybe there's a scheme that gives me some heals. Let's get that out of the deck and played now because I need it. And that's just a cool one. I think that's definitely the coolest new item. And with this set and all of the other Marvel ones, you can mix and match those items, those ground items, as much as you want. And yeah, they're definitely going to be thrown into the mix because, well, they're all cool, maybe situational, but yeah, a good box of items. Certainly that one that allows you to play a scheme card from your deck. Of course, with the Marvel sets only being 3 characters, you're not getting as much variation as if you were to get one of the Battles of Legends, or if you were to get maybe the Cobble and Fog sets, which have 4 characters. I don't think it's necessarily that much of an issue in this one, because these characters I do think have plenty of draw to them, in terms of most people, I think, are going to just buy this to happily play as Spider-Man, let alone having She-Hulk and Doctor Strange, two quite big names, sort of, or with She-Hulk upcoming names for the MCU. I feel like they're going to be characters that a lot of people do like, and like I say, Spider-Man, yeah, I think most people are happy just to have him in this game. I certainly am. Really, really fun to play as him. It would always be great. We always want a little bit more, and coming from boxes that either have 2 or 4, it does feel weird that the Marvel sets, all of the Marvel sets, apart from Deadpool, which is standalone solo, they only have 3 characters. It would just be fun and allow for one box to add that sort of whole other level of variation that you can do between matchups to have had a 4th character. But these are some great characters to have in this box. The obvious question is, where do I rank this of the Unmatched Marvel boxes? Because you're probably going to want to know, if I'm looking to get into Unmatched, is this the Marvel one for me? And it's probably going to be up there for most people. I think this is probably, because of the characters included, one that's going to draw a lot of heads. They're going to be turned towards this box, and I don't think you're going to be put off because of it. 2 characters in terms of Spider-Man and She-Hulk that are generally easy to play but fun to play as, with Doctor Strange just having a little bit of a sort of more unique twist, and you've got to use that power a lot more usefully than the other 2, which are just, these are good. Whereas that is, well, I am losing health, so you don't want to have to do it too much, etc. So from a brand new player's point of view, this would be a good box. Lining it up against others, I do think the Redemption Row box or the For King and Country box also have some really sort of top line characters. I think this one might just be taking the top spot, and I think for many people, because of the characters involved and the fact that they are fun to play, I think this one is probably the go-to set if you're looking for an Unmatched Marvel one. In my opinion, you know, if you really like Squirrel Girl, well, go and get that set. And that's why I'd say for any Unmatched, go for the characters that really grab you, unless someone's saying they're stupidly complicated. None are, but there's certainly some that are easier to play as if it's your first Unmatched game, and you might have a better experience that way. But yeah, this has been a great set. Cool map sort of to have brought to life. Great characters, very fun powers in each of the decks. Can highly, highly recommend it. It's one of my favourite games of all time, and this is another set that just knocks it out the park. Brains and Brawn, fantastic, absolutely great set from me. Love it, love it, love it. And well, let me know in the comment section below if you've played it, what you've thought of it. Are these the best Marvel characters to have come out in Unmatched? Let me know in the comment section below. And until next time, have an unmatched day.